Hey everybody. So I thought it might be good for us to start putting a face with some of these videos, no matter what else might be going on. And so I'm going to do that today. This is a very short video compared to the others, and we are still going through the 9 keys to getting to that $100 million in annual revenue. Now, if you are starting out at around $1 million, you're just trying to look to get to maybe 5 or 10 million, a lot of these principles still apply. So recognize that while that 100 million may be in the distant future, those skills and that scalability are really a vibrant part of most growing businesses. So don't check out just because this isn't exactly your growth goal. Bear with us because I'm sure you can pick up a thing or two to use within your business. So from a leadership strength perspective, there are a number of things that I look at whenever I'm talking to businesses around their leadership strength. I'm only going to go into one of the basic ones here today, and I will follow up with some other videos as we grow as well. So in the first key, I talked about strategic vision and focus. If you haven't watched that video, definitely go check it out. It has mission, vision, values, and a map. And that is really part of our key foundation, our key number one, because if you don't know where you're going, it's really hard to check in on everything else as far as these keys go. So if you know where you're heading, you know why you're doing it, you know the values of the company, meaning the types of behaviors that you not only already see in the company, but you want to emphasize, you want to see grow, that's a really key to your leadership team. Because if you don't have those cultural values, how are you going to hold your team accountable to a certain standard of behavior or interaction or how they team up with others and work with others? And then, of course, the map is keeping us on track to hitting our goals by setting 3-year, 1-year, and quarterly related goals. So let's jump into leadership strength. And I used to get so frustrated. Jim Collins, in his amazing book, Good to Great, where he studies a number of businesses who went from just being good to being great, hence the title. In it, he talks about having the right people in the right seats. And the way that he refers to that is actually the right seats of the bus. And that has always just driven me crazy. I was like, it doesn't matter. Besides the driver, it doesn't matter what seat of the bus that somebody's on. Anytime I tell somebody that, they're like, you are taking that way too literally. And so I've tried to step back, take myself a little less seriously, take that comment a little less seriously, and really consider, okay, let's use the bus analogy, right people, right seats. If you even think about it in like when you're sitting beside somebody and you can talk on your way to a certain destination, that's really could be helpful to moving something along, right? So right people, right seats. It's really important that you understand what seats you need to fill, what roles have to be operating in your company without regard to certain people. If I could give any company, any size, one piece of advice, it is to build your chart. I'm going to use chart because it could be an org chart, accountability chart. If you use EOS, highly recommend. When you build that chart and you say, we need somebody that is visionary and in leadership, we need somebody who is the relationship person. I don't want you to say, well, Joe's already in that position, it must be Joe, because Joe may not really be as good at that if you really lay out what you need to get to this next level of growth. That may be you. You may be Joe. Joe may be better in a secondary role or a supporting role of some sort. So I really want to encourage any founder, leader of a company that's really trying to grow to think through what roles you need to have in your company to make that long-term vision happen. And then you back up and you put in the right people into those right blocks and you say that person has those skills to do that thing and we already have them. Or that person does not. Let's go ahead and start working on how we might replace them. Now, you might not replace them or, move them to just having that one seat. You may not do that for 3 months, 6 months, a year. But when you're first laying that out, you have to think about in what order and in what priority are you going to replace those folks. So Whenever I started an agency, my partner and I, we basically and we used an accountability chart, and then we put our own names in every category. Not 2 names, just 1 name. And we decided what they were responsible for. And we also decided how fast we were going to try to get them down to 1 box and which boxes were most urgent. So I might be in the finance box, but I don't have a finance background. I'm not an accountant. I've basically taken the same 2 years most graduates have. So, and it's not something I enjoy. So as quickly as possible, that was a box that we had identified for backfilling. And backfilling could be part-time contractor, full-time employee, just depends on how fast the company grows. But really understanding that ecosystem, and this is not something for HR. Yes, they should support you. They should help find the people and fill the spots. They should not have strategic input into who, where, how, why, and when, unless they are at that C-suite level. Otherwise, you are going to miss the nuances of really ensuring that you have the right people on the team at the right time versus the day-to-day recruiting, hiring, training, implementing benefits. So just some additional word of advice. Before I move on, that's the right schedule. So you may not put everybody on the bus. You may not fill a bus with 30 people. You may have just 1 of you or 2 of you or 10 of you right now. But you need to know when you are going to add which people in what order and how you are going to shift and move the people who are currently on the bus to the things that can be most beneficial to the company and to them. Last, before we move on, I just want to talk about what might be wrong with this chart. One of the things we also talk about in your org chart structure is, do the right people have representation all the way through the organizational chart? If you have anything going on where a department lead needs to report to another department lead, or even a department lead needs to report to a C-suite person, and that C-suite person reports to the CEO, nobody is getting the right level of service up and down the particular org chart. Each person reporting into a C-suite type of executive team has to be able to fully represent the people under them. So when you promote somebody who's sales over, say, for instance, marketing, you really have to understand, do they have the true background to be able to actually lead that role? Or should a marketing role be promoted? Or should you actually have a different representative actually overseeing that particular department? So don't let the only having so many direct reports or, oh, I'm sure they did that once in their life, I'm sure they can manage that particular team. This goes for sales as well. Just a great sales leader does not mean that they are a great sales team leader. So really understanding that chart, understanding what each one is responsible for, and then adding the names, and then developing a plan for bringing in, shifting people, and making sure that the team underneath them really feels supported and like they have a true leader at the head of their department. And then that department has true access into the executive team, whether through another leader or directly on it, is going to be one of the main keys to your scalability. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can reach us at Rebecca@advisory9.com, and we can certainly help you work through maybe this particular challenge or other challenges around what you might need to get to the $100 million. Thanks so much.